Hello, I'm hoping you can hear me. This is my first time trying this. And look, I got kind of fancy. I was able to put together this little, I don't know what you call this, but now you know what I'm supposed to be talking about. I was also trying to get pretty ambitious, thought maybe I could have some PowerPoints with all my topics and bullet points. And then I realized I have about 302 things to do on my list today. So I uh, canceled that and thought this right here was fancy enough for today. So today's topic, as it says, working at home, how? I didn't get my fancy PowerPoints and such, but I did make my own little whiteboard here. Let's see, how can we get that in here? These are the things we're going to talk about. So that'll hopefully keep me on track. I'd really like to keep this to 15 minutes because I know you're really busy. So the first thing says two parts, how and how. So the first part we'll definitely get to today. So that's just how some of the basic logistics, legalities of working at home. And the second part is more about tips, how to really fit it into your day, how to find time to do it. And if we don't get to that part, I have a lot to say about that, so maybe I will do a whole separate session on that because I have probably as much to say about that as I do about just general working at home. Okay, so two basic categories of working at home. You have employment and you have your own business. So employment means you have an employer and they are paying an expected salary or some kind of payment arrangement. Usually that means a reliable paycheck. So that's why people like employment. They also like it because it usually means benefits. If you already have an employer, then you can talk to them about coming up with some other arrangement, job sharing, telecommuting part of your days of the week, so you're not going in every day, and come up with some kind of proposal. Obviously, it still needs to be beneficial to them, so you might have to get creative. Okay, and then you have your own business, and that can look like anything. There are so many options to that. A lot of moms look at direct sales. And that's really a really quick way to get into working at home and earning money right away. Probably the quickest return on your investment. I don't have any issues with direct sales, but I do feel like you really have to believe in whatever it is that you're sharing. And that's really what it becomes, is sharing instead of trying to be really pushy, selling something. Our nature as especially moms is to share something that is exciting to us or that has helped us. Oh, my audio is spotty. Sorry. I'll try that. Let me know if that's any better. So once you start sharing, oftentimes that snowballs, and that can be one way to bring in income. Other ways to have your own business, really, you want to just do what you love. So if you are a crafter and enjoy some sort of art, that would be a great thing for you to do. Freelancing, what your skills already are. So whatever you're already doing, how can you tweak that to make it something you can do at home? Consulting, freelancing, you know, what's your background? What do you have experience in? How can you take that and bring it home? Now, kind of in between those, we have employment, we have self-employment. Technically, contract work is still self-employment, but oftentimes it is for a primary organization or company, perhaps one you've worked for in the past. But as a contractor, you are not employed anymore, so you have to take care of all of your own taxes. You know, keep your time, submit invoices as far as your payment and things like that. but you might still get some of the benefits of working for that particular organization. Whichever way you decide to go, when it comes to self-employment, my biggest piece of advice is do it right. So you probably need to have a business license. You probably need to be paying gross receipts taxes or sales taxes of some kind on whatever you're providing. You need to be keeping records. Let's see if everybody else can hear me. I'm seeing some comments. Sorry, I can't see the comments for some reason. Okay, so do it right. Do what's legal, pay your taxes, do everything that you're supposed to be doing. And I'll try to, for some reason it's not letting me see comments, which kind of stinks because that's the point of this, right? But that's why I'm telling you it's my first time, so I can mess up a lot. I'm going to see if I can see it. The comments over here on my phone, which again is not ideal. But okay, so obstacles, is that next? Yes, obstacles. A supportive spouse just makes everything easier. So being on the same page, is there an understanding that, hey, this chunk of every day I'm going to be unavailable for the things I've usually done in the past. Or you might need to pitch in some with childcare if you have kids at home. So it's always more helpful to be on the same page there. And childcare. So a lot of times people think that I'm going to work at home because I can't pay for childcare. And a lot of times it is true that you can work at home and not have to worry about childcare at first. But if you actually get to be successful and start needing more time to work or more time to make those calls without a kid, at your feet, you might need childcare. So I always tell moms, don't eliminate the possibility that you might need childcare because there might come a time, and I call it a tipping point, that you need help, that it will be worth paying for some help with childcare in order to continue growing your business. Your expectations can sometimes be another obstacle. Sometimes, people need, if you need an immediate return on your investment, that's usually not how it works. But think about when you're employed, you don't get a paycheck immediately either. There is a wait and a delay on that. So there will be that to consider. You're not going to get paid the next day. Expectations as far as time involved, housekeeping. Sometimes you think, oh, I'm going to be at home, so I'm going to be able to do everything I've been doing plus this stuff, and my house is going to be clean. No, at least not for me, because I'm not going to turn my camera down there, but if I did, you would see some huge piles of laundry that have not been tended to. That's kind of the reality for us. One of the big challenges of working at home is often defining what time is set aside for work and what time is set aside for home or family. And a lot of times you're trying to do both a lot, and that can get really, really tricky. So that can be another obstacle. Isolation for some people. Isolation is another issue, because if you're working at home, and this is especially true if you have an employment situation, and you're used to being around a lot of people, and suddenly you're at home by yourself, not talking to anybody but the dog or the cat. So that's something to consider if you are an extrovert too. And also, when we work at home, we tend to try to do everything ourselves because it can be cheaper. You're not having to pay somebody else. But when it comes to things like accounting and legal services, then you really want to think about making sure you have that stuff done right. Unfortunately, I've been bitten by not having people that knew what they were doing in some of those situations. So Okay, I'm going to try to see why I can't see comments. Because I see that some people are posting comments. Okay, no, sorry, comments. Not ideal, I know. I apologize. Okay, so let's see. Next on my list. Oh, some resources. So, while I said it's ideal to find what you love and do that, sometimes we just don't have the ideal, right? Sometimes we're just looking for anything we can find that's going to work with our life and our situation to earn some money. So a really good website that I've discovered recently was realways-to-earn-money-online.com. This person has some really good lists of legit companies that have employment and contract work doing different things. And I think it's a she, but one thing I like about what she does is that sometimes she has headings like jobs you can do from your phone, or jobs that don't require phone time, or jobs that you can do on wireless, because there's actually a lot of online jobs that you need to be connected with your Ethernet cable, that they don't want you to be on wireless, or you have to have a dedicated phone line, maybe not even cell phone line, to do jobs. So she has a really nice list of different companies and opportunities that you can look at, and she's really good at weighing out the pros and the cons. So, things like, after you actually complete the job, you've probably only made this much per hour, which might not be worth it for some people. Or people I've talked to say that you spend more hours doing this job than they initially predicted, or things like that, that make it really a good way to judge if this situation will be right for you. And another one that I've started doing recently is VIP Kid, and that is teaching English. If you have a bachelor's degree, and any teaching experience, does not have to be formal classroom, certified teacher kind of situation. You can apply to teach English to kids in China. So this often means, depending on your time zone, really early hours or later hours, but it's definitely legit, and it's there is an application process. It is a process. It's not just click here and sign up. You have to go through several stages to see if you're a match, basically. So those are two resources if you are currently looking for some way to earn money at home. And then next on my list found this article, Home-Based Business Myths. This was back from like 2003, when there was a magazine called Mom's Business Magazine. So I was going to look at those. So myth number one, home-based business has no overhead. It has less overhead, right? You're not having to pay rent at a space or anything. But there are usually supplies and things that you might have to get in order to do your job. Most of those are tax write-offs. Myth number two, I talked about. I will not need childcare if I work from home. Well, you might, especially if you have to be on the phone or do something that really takes a lot of concentration that you can't necessarily do if you have a toddler, or really any age kid, depending on the kid. But you might need childcare. And there are some alternative arrangements you can make for that too, that I'll talk about when we get to some of the tips. Myth number three. Oh, I kind of touched on this one. If I have a home business, I will have time to clean house, continue to volunteer at church and school, cook delectable meals, taxi the kids to all their activities, and have a meaningful personal relationship with my significant other. Just like with anything in life, you only have so much time, so you have to prioritize, and you can't do it all, at least not at the same time. Again, I'm citing the piles of laundry hiding behind me right now. Let's see. If I work at home, I can be much more casual in both how I dress and how I treat my customers. Well, you might be able to be more casual in how you dress, um, depending on if you're being seen. Um, but it would be a big mistake to treat your customers differently. In fact, for the different businesses I've had, I really treated it like a business and did not um, want it to seem like I was in my pajamas talking to them working at home. I wanted the customer or whoever I was working with um, to know that I was taking their business very seriously, and they should take me seriously in return. So let's see that. Oh, that's the last one. Okay, so I think we're at 15 minutes about, but I'm going to go ahead and just give a few of my tips for how to fit this in. Try tracking your time. You might be surprised what you can learn about how you spend your time. I really like Toggle, Toggl, and that really helped me, tracking my time. And I started doing this when I had a contract job and I was being paid for my time. But it really showed me a lot, like how much time I could reasonably expect to sit there with strong, intense focus, working on something. It showed me what I could get done. You're usually paid by the hour. So what can I get done in an hour? I never really paid attention to that before. Was I more productive if my kids were gone? Or was I okay on some of these jobs if my kids were there? So tracking your time really helps you notice some patterns. Have a plan for each day. It doesn't have to be a rigid schedule, but just a plan. When am I going to fit this in? Is it going to be at nap time? Great. Then I better have it all laid out. I better know what I'm going to do at nap time, because nap time is usually pretty limited amount of time. So I got to get in there. I need to have a list of what I'm going to do. It needs to be prioritized. What's the most important thing? Oftentimes, if you have small kids, at least for me, I was doing phone calls then. That was the time that I could do phone calls. But you want to maximize your time and not spend it floundering. What am I supposed to do? What was that project? Think about what is the time that you have and what you're going to do in that time. And then I'm going to say this. Have a plan for dinner. Okay, if you are scrambling around trying to figure out what you're going to have for dinner, that is time you could have spent working. If you're, okay, I got to pull this out. Oh, shoot, I don't have that. Now I have to chop all these vegetables. So the more time you can save in meal preparation and cleanup, the more you can spend with your family, on your home business, and your home project, your volunteer project, your fun project, whatever you want to do. And for me, if I have a day I know I need to get a lot done for work, I'm pulling out a freezer meal. I want to just dump that in the cooker, turn it on, and have it be pretty much ready. Now that my kids are older, I might have them do a side dish or them chop a vegetable or something like that. But since the freezer meals have very little prep and very little cleanup, then I'm also saving a lot on cleanup. But you knew I was going to tell you to use your freezer meals to maximize your time, didn't you? Okay, if you spend time waiting for kids, so for us that's cheerleading practice, that's kung fu. If you're waiting around at the gym, at the soccer field, take something with you to do. So that could be a podcast you wanted to listen to that goes toward whatever your goal is, a book that you're reading, a clipboard with some kind of portable task on it. So I know everything's digital, but sometimes I print something out that I can do when I'm somewhere where there's no internet. And you can just always keep that in your car so you can grab it. Or you can squeeze in, if this is your downtime, then you can squeeze in your leisure reading, thank you notes, bill paying. That doesn't really sound like downtime, does it? But you're doing something productive that then frees up time for you to work later, okay? And that's your goal. You can also, if you want to do some work and you need to be online, take a hotspot with you. And again, have a task in mind that you can do while you're sitting there. So this is not something I do a lot, but I really appreciate when it's an option, when I'm thinking to myself, wow, I really need to send in that article, answer that set of emails. At least I have the option with a hotspot. And the one I use, I have a post on the blog, Go Karma. It is not solely pay as you go. So, I bought the device and then I could just buy it as I used it up. Now there is a small like $2.95 charge a month. But that's pretty minimal. And you can write that off. Okay, if you have a baby at home, this is what I did back in those days for me. So first of all, consider a mother's helper. A young person, usually a girl, that's really good with babies and toddlers and can keep them entertained. So they're not there by themselves. You are still there. If anything, does come up, mother's helpers also tend to be cheaper because of that. They're not there by themselves. They could also, one of my babies always knew if I was home and was not happy if she knew I was behind the door. So maybe have the mother's helper take the kids out for a walk in the stroller, go to the park, something like that. But then you kind of set up, and my daughter's actually a mother's helper now, and so I think their routine is mom, she was kind of not happy with the situation. Mom would say goodbye. She would actually go out the front door, one of the main doors, and then come back in through another door, sneak into her office. And so that told the kid, mom's gone, and I'm going to be playing with this fun person now. Let's see. And then again, when you know your mother's helper's coming over, you have your tasks lined up. You know what you're going to get in that limited amount of time. Okay. The other thing I did when I had babies was trade babysitting. I watched my friend's kid one afternoon or one morning a week. She watched them another day, and that gave us both. I did it, where it was a 1-1, and then another time we did it 2 days and 2 days. And that was really helpful. We had no childcare costs. We had our kid with somebody that we knew and trusted. So that worked out really well for us. Okay. And I think that is the majority of my big tips right now. I'm so sorry that I cannot see these comments. I do not know why I can't, because I have a feeling there might be some good question. I see Kayla, I see your first comment that my audio was spotty, and I really hope that fixed itself. But I see other comments in there, but I just can't see how to get them. So I'm sorry. So what I'll do is I'll read the comments after I log off here. I will answer what I can. If there was anything I mentioned, a resource, a website that you didn't catch, ask me. I will put it back up. In fact, maybe I'll make a comment with some of those things and pin it to the top. Thank you for bearing with me, especially if the sound wasn't good. I am learning. This is the first time I've done this, so thanks for being patient and showing up, friends.